Good lordy, man. Somebody last night peed in a lot of people's Wheaties because when they woke up this morning, immediately there was discussions on a lot of different Dinarian platforms. Look, last night live show, I'm very grateful to have Nathan on there. He shared a lot of information, and despite the fact that there was a handful of people being pissy about it, a lot of people did hit me up on inside our group on Facebook, and they were really happy about it. I was glad that you guys caught all the good things that I talked about because I was afraid some of you guys might have missed it. But I do want to go over a couple things real quick. First and foremost, I want to welcome Dan and Gary, the PTR boys, who seem to be paying attention to what's going on my video. So, hey, welcome aboard. But I do want to get a couple of things straight that you guys talked about today during your phone call, if you don't mind. We want to make a correction. Last night, Nathan said that Tony from TNT was a paid associate and working with Gary and Dan for 6 years. And they were nice enough to point out the fact that this is not true, that he never was a paid associate of theirs. But then they turned around and said he was only there for a short period of time and that they paid him. If you pay somebody, doesn't that make you a paid associate? Nonetheless, anyways, another thing that was either misinformed or misunderstood was something that Nathan did bring up. He said that he had spoke to a senior banker within Iraq, and he was told that by this banker that Iraq has nothing to do with the value of the exchange rate on IQD when it comes out. That's not in their hands. And I think I've made many videos myself in which I explain that, you know, the rate is being controlled by somebody else and it has nothing to do with the people inside Iraq. We wanted to make sure to get that out there because they misled purposely or by accident because, well, let me just change it this way. You boys might want to listen to the video again and listen to it all the way through if you're going to comment on there or misrepresent information that was shared. Anyways, like he said, he talked to a senior banker because he has those types of connections, real ones. And he was told that Iraq is totally out of the loop when it comes to the rate of the IQD. They don't have no control over that. Also, what was brought up last night was something very interesting. We were giving out some scenarios, and Nathan said he wasn't sure of whatever's happening. You want to call it a RI, you want to call it an RV, you want to call it a global currency reset, that there's definitely something going on. But then he kicked around a couple of different scenarios. He said he wasn't sure if this was going to be a situation where certain sovereign entities, all right, would decide amongst themselves to assign the value to their respective IQD holdings, but with publishing the rate of the IQD. This is a true definition of a closed shop event. Okay? All Nathan was saying is like he wasn't sure what was going on, but for some reason it was passed off as that was set in stone, but that's not the case. Okay? And the fact that Dan was trying to make an argument that, you know, this was uncredible of Nathan to call a friend of his that is one of the largest oil traders in the world to ask him about oil credits. And the man told him, no, there's no damn oil credits. And they were saying, yeah, he was somehow, some way discrediting the fact that, you know, Nathan would call one of the world's largest oil traders to follow up on that because he was curious about it. Why wouldn't you call one of the world's largest oil traders to ask him about, you know, oil credits? It would seem to me like that would be one of the first people you would run to and ask about that. But I get it because I believe that's one of the biggest things on your guys' platforms. So the last thing you need is somebody to be trying to debunk that in any way, shape, or form. So I understand that. It's not a big deal, you guys. But I'm just saying this man shared information and he absolutely knows. Okay. But I guess my question to you two is, if you don't mind, just humoring me, and do you guys actually deal in large amounts of IQD? Have you ever moved millions or billions of dollars worth of IQD on any level, on any institutional level whatsoever? Because I ask that because you guys are judging the individual that has. This is what this man does. Okay? Anyways, so understand why the retort. Anyways, let's get past that stuff because I just thought it was funny. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, man, the dinar community is catty, ultra competitive, and very, very small. You can't even share your opinions on stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I've already explained in the last video why Nathan goes after gurus. He has a reason to do so. He doesn't like the fact that there are people out there that take advantage of other people. And I've also voiced my opposition to that. I don't like that as well. For me, I can't stand when people use faith or religion to take advantage of individuals. In Nathan's case, I told you what had happened. Somebody that he knew was approached about a certain guru who was taking advantage of this person's mother who was suffering from dementia. And even after being told that the mother had dementia, this individual kept taking the money. To me, that's just D class A, all right? That person reminds me of a summer vacation. No class, all right? So let's get past that. Okay, so real quick, I want to just give a quick shout out and thanks to Mike. I hope you don't mind, Mike, that I'm going to go ahead and put you up here like this because Mike sent me a couple of very interesting articles. But before we get into them, I want to remind everybody that Pimpy's Investment Chat is a Facebook group. It's the same name as my YouTube channel. In the description, you will find a link to come on in and join. In here, we talk about everything from Iraqi dinars to the Vietnam dong, gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, and other items. All right, so please feel free to come join us. There is a lot of knowledgeable people in here as well. So if you have questions, this is a great place to come along and ask questions. I try to answer as many as possible, but you can understand that I spend a good portion of my day researching and the other biggest portion of it in here answering questions, phone calls, and texts. But I will get back to you sooner or later if you're trying to ask me something directly. Also, a lot of you people keep asking me about where to buy cryptocurrencies. In the description, you will find a link to Coinbase. If you follow it, they will give you $10 free for signing up with them. And in addition to that, if you go down to where it says earn cryptocurrencies, you can earn up to about $160 worth of cryptocurrencies for free. That's not too bad whatsoever. Anyways, let's get into one of the articles that Mike sent my way, which is really, really interesting. This here's from ZeroHedge, and if you don't know who they are, I highly recommend. I'm gonna leave a link to them just so you guys know. Highly recommend you kind of read some of the articles. They're very good. Now, this is interesting because ZeroHedge is kind of leading into what we've been calling a global currency reset, a GCR, a NGCR, a debt forgiveness jubilee. It's very interesting. So there is this push. Look at this. About 140 global organizations and charities are calling for a worldwide debt jubilee to avoid some of the world's poorest countries from collapsing into chaos amid the coronavirus. Reported by the BBC, the British-based Jubilee Debt Campaign is leading the movement ahead of the G20 meeting this week. Now, I spoke about this before in other videos, and I'm going to get into it because they do mention this. There used to be a what do you want to call it? There used to be a tradition. It's a Jewish tradition where every 7 years they would forgive you. All people would forgive you for all your debt. So he does mention that. So I was happy to see that. I wasn't the only person that brought this up. So developing countries are being hit by an unprecedented economical shock, and at the same time face an urgent health urgency, said Clifton, director of the Jubilee Debt Campaign. The suspension of debt payments called for by the IMF and World Banks saves money now, but kicks the can down the road and avoids actually dealing with the problem of spiraling debt. So the suspension of the debt. So these people say, forget suspending it. Let's get rid of it altogether. And this used to happen, you guys. This has happened before, and this guy does cover the history about it. So Taylor, my hat's off to you because I like this. Clifton is urging that the immediate cancellation of 69 of the world's poorest countries' debt payments this year, which would free up about at least $25 billion for the countries in 2020 and up to $50 billion if the Jubilee was extended into the end of 2021. Now, there's some countries that can afford this a little bit of a butt kicking. Don't get me wrong. We would like to all have this debt forgiven. And the fact that there is 140 global organizations and charities that are pushing this GCR, NGCR, global currency, debt jubilee, debt forgiveness, and some people, including myself, have shown where some of our debts have magically disappeared. I'm still to this day, I can't tell you how many times I went back to my credit report to see if there was a mistake, if it got put back on there. And I've even called the creditors to validate it. It's just hard to understand or grasp the fact that a $137,000 student loan is gone. It's gone. It's not there. It's been discharged. There's no why, how. People keep asking me, what'd you do? What paperwork did you do? I wish I can share with you people. There's nothing I did. Nothing whatsoever. It's just gone. All right. And not just me, but my other half did as well. She went to her credit report and it is gone. So let's keep getting into this. The latest call for the debt jubilee should come to no surprise to ZeroHedge readers. Okay. Over the last several decades, governments across the world have added insurmountable debts, leading to bill bucklers via the privateer to say, back in 2012, the world has divided down a deep hole. Dived, not divided, my bad. The world has dived down into a deep hole and into a trap that has ensnared Japan more than 2 decades ago. Okay, so anyways, look, this is a good read. I'm going to put it down there. There is no doubt that the debt that's occurred around the world is causing already an economical crisis. Now they have the coronavirus added to it. To me, that's just their excuse, because call me crazy, the coronavirus doesn't seem to be as bad as people think. There has been worse things that happened to us, and we've been able to go ahead and weather through it. Now, as for me, coming from the healthcare industry, there is a thing called a herd immunity, which means as long as the people are out and about mingling with one another, sure, some people get sick. But what happens is as people continue to cross paths with the sick, the recovering, and the healthy, eventually humans start to develop a natural immunity against certain diseases. So the fact we're being locked up like animals does concern me, because this is counterproductive to what a herd immunity is. All right. So nonetheless, look, we all agree and we like to see this happen. Oh man. And you know, call me crazy, but I'm going to say this. I think we have the right man in the White House to make this happen if it was ever going to happen. But let's get into some historical context that he puts out there. Historians have counted around 30 episodes. So this is what they're saying. Historians have said there have been 30 times of general debt cancellation from 2400 to 14 BC, noting there were occasions of great festivity, which often involved the physical destruction of the tables on which liabilities were recorded. Well, yeah, it's one thing for them to say, hey, your debt's gone and you're celebrating, and then another group of people get into power and say, you know, we changed our mind. I say not only should they forgive the debt, but they should destroy any and all records that account for that debt and that debt forgiveness. Hit the thumbs up if you agree with that. Please leave a comment whether or not you agree with that, because the last thing I want is some greedy jerks coming back into power and going, you know, we changed our mind. We change our mind. And they'll make some excuse why they need to get a portion of or all of the debt back to them and then turn around and enslave us, okay? So not only do I want the debt forgiveness, but I want any and all records of it destroyed, okay? So one of the most famous episodes of debt forgiveness comes from ancient Babylon, modern day Iraq. Quadinky dink? Maybe not. It's funny how Iraq keeps popping up in different things. In 1792 BC, the self-proclaimed king of Babylon forgave all citizens debts owed to the government and high-ranking officials and dignitaries. Also, debt forgiveness was also practiced during the same time of the Old Testament, the Jewish Mosaic laws. Am I saying that wrong? Mosaic, I'm pretty sure it's right. Every seventh Sabbath year saw the wiping away of all debts, where creditors canceled all the obligations of their fellow Israelites. Every 49th year, seventh Sabbath year, was the year of Jubilee. The year of Jubilee. I don't know about you, but I'm sure that Hal would welcome a year of Jubilee. If you agree with that, hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, and go ahead and leave a comment if you like to see a year Jubilee. Can I get an amen at least? All right. Anyway, so it goes on to here. It talks about routinely pointed out that America is in dire need of debt Jubilee, as wealth inequality is extremes and insurmountable debts. Oh man, you know what? Maybe I'm naive, but I think again we have the right man in the White House that can make this happen. And as many of you people in different spheres out there, whether you're into the GCR global currency reset, I know as people in the Iraqi dinar community, as well as the GCR, whatever you want to call it, you know, these people all feel that the time is now, if ever before. We got a true outsider out there, and if anybody's going to do, it's definitely going to be Trump. So, Mikey, I appreciate you giving me this article because it's a good one. It does make me feel good that to find out that there is right now 140 global organizations. And here's the thing, you guys, help spread this word. You know, people keep asking me permission to save or share my videos. Share them. You should share them. Share them. You want to help me out? Share the videos. Go on ahead. I'm not in the Patreon group, nor would I ever go to Patreon group. Okay, because I think this information should be shared free with people. Now, don't get me wrong. I make YouTube pay me for the services that I put out there. And you can help me get paid more by YouTube by just hitting the subscribe button and sharing this video. Let's help spread the word. Because the more people that wake up and hear about this, the more people will push for this. I believe there's enough people in this world that we can make this happen. All right. All right. So anyways, something else interesting that Mikey sent to me. TBI announced, which is a trade bank of Iraq, announces capital increases of $3 billion under a 3-year strategy. Now, you know what's interesting about this 3-year strategy? And I won't get all into this. You guys can come back here and read this because it is a little interesting. And that is this. I guys told you this, that I had read some minutes in the Central Bank of Iraq's minutes. But not just that, I've also noticed that some of these older Iraq articles where they have taken information from these minutes and shared the same thing. And I told you in one of them, they had this idea to reinstate the rate somewhere around, I believe it was $1.13 is what the article said, for 3 years. They would keep it at that rate and monitor it with a dirty float, which is a managed float, just to make sure they can manage the shock to the economy. This almost seems to be talking about the same thing. Look, there's a 3-year plan they're talking about, all right, between 2020 and 2023. What does that mean, Pimpy? We are in 2020. The rate change we are anticipating will happen this year. Now, I had Nathan on here, and he said there is a lot of movement involving the IQD, which, for those you don't know, stands for the Iraqi Dinar, okay? So there's been a lot of movement, and I told you, I've talked to a lot of people that deal in exchanges. These people said there is very, very rich people coming in and buying large amounts. Now, just because they're rich and just because they have the money to buy large amounts does not immune them from being stupid. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. So what does it mean? Who knows? Does it mean anything? It's hard to say. We just think it's interesting that a lot of people seem to be moving in that direction. But more importantly is the fact that there's large financial institutions that are making a play on the Iraqi dinar. We're trying to figure out what that means. It might not mean anything to the common Joe, but who knows? We're about to find out. To me, this could be some form of poor man's Federal Reserve or reserve dollar. Not Federal Reserve. Let me retract that. This could be a version of a poor man's reserve, okay? All right, so we'll find out. Another thing that was brought up today in the world of Iraq, there seems to be a change. Our boy Zurfi seems to be wanting to step down and turn it over to Al-Kazemi, all right? Now, I went through here and I read all kinds of things about Al-Kazemi. He was opposition to Saddam Hussein. He does work in the military intelligence. My concern is the fact that the Shiite forces are actually supportive of this guy. And so I'm not sure what his ties are, if at all, to Iran. We don't want to put a PM in charge that is not there for the sake of the Iraqi people and pushing whatever the Iranian agenda is. I don't want to see that. All right. Like I said this before, and I'm sincere, people, and I mean this with all my heart, and that is this. Of course, I want the IQD to change. Of course, I want us all to be able to benefit it. I really do. But to me right now, what's going on over in these countries is sad. Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. Okay? These people live in some of the richest countries in the world, and they suffer every day. It's not worth it to me. It really isn't. I know some of you out there don't feel the same way, and that's fine. I get it. But right now, what I'm hoping to see happen, and whenever this government gets in there, It's going to move quickly. Now, I believe the agreement between Zurfi and Al-Kazami is this, that Al-Kazami is going to go ahead and take the government that is recommended by Zurfi and implement it as his government. So I believe that's the only agreement they have in order for Zurfi to step down. Now, we all want a Zurfi in there, and as a matter of fact, we know Pompeo and Trump have actually made threats in regards to making sure that this guy is, in office, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And once again, we see another change in the PM position. Now, we did go over the fact that the president has a right under the Constitution. After this guy, if they don't put him in office and they don't agree on the cabinet, the president will then have the right to dissolve the parliament. Now, I'm not so sure these people are willing to give up the power that they have being in parliament, but I would like to see this parliament dissolved because Iran has too much influence over it. We need pro-Iraqi people to be in there so they can do pro-Iraqi things. But here we go again. Once again, we're seeing a change happen. Let's see how quickly this happens, if at all. Okay, anyways, I thought I would share some things with you. I do like this. This is ZeroHedge. I'm with you guys 100%. Whoever these 140 global organizations are, that's not enough. We need to create more organizations, need to get behind this push, and it's not just for the poorest nations. We need the people around the world to get a fresh start. No debt. Totally 100% clean, and any and all records of this debt gone. I would like for that to happen. Let's pray that it does, all right? Anyways, you guys, I just appreciate you being aboard. And again, like I said, if you agree with some of these things, smash the like button. Please subscribe so you can pick up notifications on other videos that come out. And to my new followers, Gary and Dan, I appreciate you guys being aboard and mentioning me in your conference calls, okay? And I hope the corrections that I made at the beginning help you out. All right, talk to you later. Bye.